Hello everyone, thanks for joining, and Mahika for asking me to join. I love doing stuff like this. So my name is Darcie, and I go to UC Berkeley, and I'm in my 3rd year. So yeah, I'm excited to just tell you all a little about me, what college has been like for me, my experience, and getting into college, etc., all that good stuff, and any questions. So like Mahika said, we'll just do about like 20 minutes of me talking, and then 40 minutes of you all asking questions and me answering. My presentation's not too long. I do want to gear this to you all for this to be really useful for you to get your questions answered. Okay, so a little bit about me. Also, sorry if I'm looking to the right, it's because that's like where I see the faces. So I was raised in Santa Clara, just an hour from Berkeley, pretty close to Milpitas, and I went to Wilcox High School. And I have a sister and a dog, as you can see in that picture, a little Yorkshire Terrier. I played soccer all throughout my childhood, and a little bit in college, actually. And I also really just enjoy spending quality time with friends and family. In high school, I was just pretty involved with school. I really enjoyed school-spirited type things. And so here I have career aspirations. Ever since I was little, I've always wanted to be a teacher. I've worked at Camp Galileo I'm actually going back just for a week this summer, but it'll be my 5th summer. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Galileo. It's a Bay Area innovation camp for kids. So I'm really passionate about little people. So it makes sense that I've always wanted to be a teacher. For a while, I was thinking elementary school teacher. Now in college, I actually think that I want to teach high school right outside of college, but we'll see. Plans do change, and that's totally okay. And you'll find out that my major in college is nutrition. I am really interested in nutrition in general, what it means to live a healthy lifestyle, but not just that, but also like, now, especially right now during the coronavirus, we're seeing how important public health is and the health of all of our people of all communities, different backgrounds, demographics, etc. And so I'm also pretty passionate about public health, seeing how science and nutrition affect humans. And I note there that I have a really strong desire to work with people. I've thought about, maybe I would enjoy sales. I'm not really sure, but I really know that I want to have a career that directly impacts people. And so, like I mentioned, I am studying nutritional sciences. And so what does that mean? Some people wonder, oh, nutritional sciences, like, cool, you're studying, nutrition, diet, right? And, to be completely honest, that's sort of what I thought I was getting myself into. But it turned out that it's actually really heavy in science. So I got to Berkeley and started looking at my 4-year plan and realized there was all kinds of things like, organic chemistry and biology and physics and calculus. And I was like, whoa. But I have stuck with it. I do like science to some extent. And I am doing a teaching minor. It's called CalTeach. Basically, long ago, the government was like, the UCs, University of California colleges, do not produce enough teachers, and there was really shortage of teachers. So they created this program called CalTeach, and it's actually at every UC, and it's a way to get a teaching minor and then to become a teacher faster. And there's a big emphasis on science and math. So computer science, including engineering, etc. All right. Below is a picture I have. I haven't actually done a nutrition lab yet. I'm supposed to do one senior year. That is one thing that's pretty cool about nutrition, is there are pretty unique labs. That's something I really enjoy about being at Berkeley, is the lab component, which we could talk about later. And so I just threw out 2 questions that honestly I wish I would have known the answer to when applying to college and in high school, that I felt like might be useful for you all, because I don't want to talk about myself the whole time. And so the first one being how important is choosing a major when applying to college. So like I said, I kind of had no idea what I was getting myself into when I selected the nutrition major for Berkeley. I, at the time, thought I wanted to be an elementary teacher, so at some schools applied elementary education or liberal studies, which are similar majors. Let's see, at one point I was considering speech pathology, so I applied linguistics to another school and nutrition to other schools. Honestly, just things that interested in me. Colleges really don't expect you, especially like at 17, 18, to know exactly what you want to do. You know, that's so much pressure. So it's not extremely important. Of course, this is like a very nuanced question. But at the end of the day, there's pretty good opportunity to change your major once you get to college. If you do have an idea of what you want to study, then I would advise putting down that major instead of doing undeclared, just because then once you get into college, you're sort of on that track for that major, especially your first semester. Let's see. But by all means, if you do undeclared, like, it is truly no problem at all. And then what else did I say? Yeah, I said many people switch majors. The only thing that I did want to know and be transparent about, especially at Berkeley, the engineering, if you apply as an engineering major, especially electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, it's going to make it more competitive to get into the university. And I would just suggest doing some research before choosing major for schools. But some of the really specialized competitive majors, mainly engineering, sometimes I think architecture is a little bit more competitive at Berkeley too. Those might be harder to get into, and then also a little bit harder to switch into. But if you really want to switch into them, and you have the passion and you're willing to work hard, I'm sure that you can. All right, so the next question I posed for you all was, how important are the classes I take in high school for getting into college? I really wondered this, and so senior year I debated between taking AP Environmental Science and AP Biology, and was kind of thinking, you know, my major will probably be more related to biology, but I kind of wanted to learn a little something about environmental science. I ended up taking AP Environmental Science, and throughout the process of getting into college and being in college, I kind of realized that colleges really don't expect your classes to perfectly line up with your major. It's unrealistic. We change your mind. There was something to be said that I just genuinely wanted to learn about environmental science. I had already taken a bio class, and that's completely okay. I don't think it gave me any sort of disadvantage. I will note, however, that I didn't take a billion AP classes because I wanted to be present where I was, and that I always still wanted to be involved in soccer and clubs, and junior, senior year, focus on the ACT. So I didn't take, like, some people will take 6 AP classes in a year. Power to you, that is not how I did it. But definitely colleges do want to see that you're willing to take on that challenge. And if that only means 1 AP class, like, that is totally okay. Let's see, I think junior year I took, okay, I guess I'll list them. AP Literature, oh, kidding, I took that senior year. Junior year I took AP Language and Composition, so that was 1. I took AP Statistics. I took AP US History. And let's see, wow, that was a while back. I think I just took those 3. I'm trying to think, what else do you take junior year? Let's see, what was the science? Yeah, and then I took honors human physiology that year. So that was an AP, but still the challenge. And then trigonometry, only 5 classes. They don't expect you to be a crazy superhuman, but they do admire work ethic, as any job or institution would. All right, let's go on to the next slide. Okay, so some extracurriculars. This is sort of more Berkeley specific. These are the things that I've been involved in at Cal, and just kind of wanted to tell you all about them so you could sort of see just like what college is like socially and professionally, and Berkeley specifically. So I was on club soccer for a few years. I got injured out, but that was really good opportunity for me. We got to travel a little bit, play competitively still, and good opportunity for just meeting people and exercising. So it can be hard in college to continue to exercise when you have all kinds of things going on. And I was involved in kids and nutrition. I really, really enjoyed being involved in that club. I would go to an elementary school once a week and teach kiddos about nutrition. Don't worry, it wasn't me just randomly making my own curriculum and showing up, hey, elementary school, I'm here, can I teach you about nutrition? No, it was like through like this Oregon, they had a curriculum built, etc. It just brought me a lot of life each week since, like I said, I'm really passionate about kids. So definitely there are ways to line up your passions and do things that make you happy in college. That's really important. I always have particularly enjoyed service, which you could see in kids and nutrition. Camp Kesem is something I joined this semester. Basically a camp that like puts on an organization that puts on a camp in the summer, a week-long camp for kids whose parents have had cancer or do, or their grandparents, anyone close to the kids. And so we provide this week free for kids and just like want to make a magical week for them. Unfortunately, it was canceled this year because of coronavirus for the safety of the kiddos, but definitely a great group of people. Bears for Elder Welfare that was doing outreach to elderly people around the Berkeley community. Professional opportunities I've had, I was a GBO is what it's called, Golden Bear Orientation. Now, I don't know if any of you are going to Berkeley this next year, but you would go through this thing called GBO. It's a week-long orientation program to get you affiliated with the university, to get you comfortable, to make some friends. And so I was a leader for a group of 50 incoming students, and it was really the time of my life. So I stayed involved in that, and I was an orientation mentor. So I trained, I had 12 of my own leaders that I trained. And that was a paid position actually, and a pretty like intense leadership position, but it was super fulfilling for me. So when I kind of realized, you know, maybe I would consider actually working with adults and not just kiddos. And let's see, the next thing, there's Greek life is a good opportunity for friendship. I didn't join Greek life actually till this year as a junior because I lost my soccer community through injury. I have had some hard time at Berkeley building community, if I'm going to be honest. And so I did join a sorority. It's like a super sweet group of ladies. We're all looking for friendship. And next, there are a lot of ways to get involved through religious community. So I go to my Catholic church weekly, and that's a good place that I feel at home. And then some other opportunities for social and professional development. There are professional fraternities. So those aren't social, those are professional. And those consist of pre-med fraternities, pre-law, international relations, and there are a lot of business clubs, consulting, which I don't understand super well. Essentially, they reach out to big companies like Google, and they're like, how can I solve a problem for you? Yeah, so business, marketing realm, etc. A lot of ethnic communities, you could get involved in student government. There is a club called Women in STEM, service clubs, sports clubs, intramural. So a lot of opportunity to do more than just school in college. All right, on to how, let's see, I can only see a few of you, but how's everyone doing? Thumbs up? Great. Awesome, we're getting through this, then I can get to your guys' questions. All right. I personally didn't know a lot of much about this either, actually. So I do want to note that I'm first generation college student, actually. Neither of my parents went to college. My mom grew up in Portugal and just didn't really have the opportunity for college. And then my father went straight into painting industry, which is what his dad had been doing. Both incredibly hard workers got me to where I am today, but I am first generation. My sister did go to college. She went to Berkeley, actually. She transferred from community college, which we'll talk about actually towards the end of this slide. It's another great route you can get to a 4-year through. So anyways, I had so many questions about college, and that's why I love doing these kinds of things for you all. And I didn't really even know the difference between a CSU, a UC, and a private. I had this great idea freshman year that college was a time that I could leave the state and just live somewhere new on an adventure and then come back to California, until maybe the beginning of junior year, I was shocked by what out of state tuition was, and was like, all right, I don't think I'm leaving California. So yeah, I just wanted to give you all some of this information that I think is helpful. So California state universities, they're called CS, you might hear like CSU, Cal Poly Pomona, San Diego State, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, Monterey, Sonoma, East Bay. We have tons in California as their California state universities. Other states do have state universities as well, but we're just gonna focus on California today. And so I note that CSUs are typically more hands-on. They are smaller class sizes comparatively to a UC. The professors are more teaching-oriented. Meeting will end in 10 minutes. Okay, no worries. The meeting will end in 10 minutes all, but no worries. I'm gonna be sending a new link. And you all will just click that new link, and then we'll continue on a next Zoom.
Yeah, I'll send it on the chat because for the Berkeley Zoom, it only allows like 40-minute meetings. So
yeah, exactly.
That link soon.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go through this slide. I'll do it in about 4 minutes. We'll have 5 minutes to spare. Don't worry, meeting's not just gonna disappear on you and end. We'll send in that link and then we'll do turnover. All right. So California State University. Let's see, where was I? Professors are generally more teaching oriented, which is something that I did not know about. Slightly smaller universities, they feel more personable. Compared to UC, they're a little bit more affordable. Let's go on to UC. There is more funding, so more opportunities for something such as research. And so back to CSUs being more teaching oriented, the professors being more teaching oriented, the professors at University of California's UC schools actually are researchers first. They come to the UCs to produce some kind of research. And so teaching is kind of just a thing that they have to do, which is just sort of an unfortunate reality of UCs, but you do get research opportunity as an undergrad or grad student if that's something you so desire, which is a plus. So that's why though the class sizes are larger, because it's less teaching oriented. It just makes sense that the class sizes are going to be larger, and UCs accept more people than the CSUs. All right, let's see. However, you do have a thing called discussion. So for, let's see, freshman year when I took chemistry, the lecture was about 500 people. That could be overwhelming, but then you go once a week to a discussion section with a grad student instructor. As a grad student, part of your job is to teach, and that's only 30 people, and you review the lecture material, so that's quite helpful. And yeah, like I said, professors, research oriented. You can still get to know your professors through office hours, but it's definitely a lot harder. You don't generally interact with them during class. And so then going on to private, typically pretty small class sizes, better opportunities to get to know professors. They are quite expensive normally, which is a downside, but there oftentimes are opportunity for scholarship. You know, it's not super easy to get, but the opportunity can be there. A lot of them have a strong sense of community, and some of them are religiously affiliated. There are like a lot of Jesuit universities, like Gonzaga I considered going to, and others have a really strong focus on liberal arts education, such as music, language, and arts. So that could be a unique route for people really focused in on those kinds of things. And then I have a note at the bottom that says tuition for state schools that are not private is higher if you're an out-of-state student. So students at Berkeley, if you are an out-of-state student, it's actually like $60,000 a year versus in-state is $30,000. And it would be like that for us though. For instance, if we went to Michigan, I believe it's like that, we would then be paying that huge out-of-state. I didn't know that's for non-private. Private schools only have one cost, and everyone pays that. I'm pretty certain. All right, okay, cool. We still have 5 minutes in this meeting, so we don't have to freak out. I'm going to stop sharing this. And I think you might, if you are interested in having like the short little presentation, it's not super meaty, but if you are, I think that Muhiko would be able to give it to you. All right.
So do you want me to send the link for the second one?
Yeah.
Okay, so FYI, I'm sending the link. We'll do like the question part there just because I said like there's a 40-minute limit. So it's just, I sent it, it's on the chat here, bit.ly/Berkeley Meet Part 2. And then we'll see you there, Darcie.
Awesome. It's going to say Grant Chin, everyone. It's totally no big deal. That's just how I'm getting around the 40 minutes. All right, see you all. All right. Very strong friendship to be made.
Okay. So do you like live with the people in your sorority now?
I'm going to senior year. So, you know, my housing situation right now has been quite interesting. This is a city problem, but not super common in Berkeley, but I did have rats end up living in my walls and then in my house. So my living situation this year, kind of nuts. But I will end up living in my sorority, yeah, which is really good place for connection. The meals will be there, and like a very safe place to live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know, but you might be like, oh, I would never join a sorority. Like that is something like, I want to break that stigma. Like Rachel, like if you want to join a sorority, like you would fit in, like anyone could, really. I guess some schools do have different Greek life cultures. Berkeley's is very much like people end up joining a sorority because they're like, wow, oh my gosh, I haven't found my community. Yeah, but it's really not like what you see in the movies.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to Amy asked, what majors/programs are the most popular and competitive? Amy, do you mean that at Berkeley? Let's see. Is Amy still here?
Yes, yeah, I do mean that.
Great. Okay. Majors and programs, the most popular. All right, the most competitive, definitely engineering, and Haas School of Business. If you want to be a business major at Berkeley, you have to get into Berkeley and you're a prospective student for business, which means that you actually have to go through another application process to get into business. Most people's backup major is econ. Business is pretty competitive to get into. Engineering programs just, are really competitive. Electrical engineering, computer science, that's EECS. You know, just the CS classes, I will say, are like quite hard at Berkeley. Again, you could work hard and do it. But they're just pretty infamously known for being tough here. Chemical engineering, I think, is known to be one of the hardest majors here. And as for popular, public health is pretty popular. A lot of the pre-med students do molecular cellular biology. I feel like econ's pretty popular. I met some people that are English majors, etc. So yeah, there are all kinds of majors. Psychology, I personally think is a cool major. Any more major specific questions, Amy?
No, I think you covered it. I actually have a follow-up question. I was wondering what's the process of changing majors once you apply for a specific major?
Yeah, so that depends on what major you're in. At Berkeley, it's not very difficult, to be honest. Basically, at Berkeley is broken up into multiple colleges: colleges of engineering, letters and sciences, college of chemistry. The reason for that is because we can't just have 3,000 advisors floating around. How would I get help when I have a question for 4-year planning, right? Like, who would I go to? And so that's why it's chunked off into colleges. So normally it depends if you switch major within your college, that's pretty easy. If you're switching completely college to college, sometimes there are GPA requirements, but maybe a little application process. For the most part, pretty manageable.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
You're so welcome. All right, let's see. Just making sure I hit these questions. Okay, Javi asked, what are common values / qualities that Berkeley students particularly have? Question. Qualities, like, yeah, Berkeley students are very hardworking. Something that I love about the student body here is that people are really passionate about making change in the world, and I love that. So yeah, value, change, equity, inclusivity, and qualities. I would say a lot of the students are pretty well-rounded. Again, just like the work ethic. Pretty resilient. I would say Berkeley students are pretty resilient. And, if I'm going to be honest about, like, no school is perfect, one of the qualities about a lot of Berkeley students that I don't love as much is that their time is pretty valuable. So I wouldn't say, like, service clubs aren't quite as popular here. I wouldn't say that the students are, like, super altruistic, and I wouldn't say that they really have the time to be super altruistic, but I'm someone who's extremely human oriented. I just, like, am such a social being that I love, like, sweet, altruistic, friendly people. And the people here are nice, but I wouldn't say super friendly, if that makes sense. Because everyone's on the run, and, it can be stressful time. College can be a stressful time. But there are great people here, and, like, you find your people when you go to college. And yeah. Does that answer your questions, Javi?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Mexico was next, right? Is it difficult to get the class you need? Oh, also a great question. Unfortunately, as a freshman, it really can be. It always works out. I'll tell you that it always works out. It can be really frustrating, and my 4-year plan as a freshman did not go as planned, but I've been able to, like, work around that. And again, like, it works out, and they make majors so that you don't have to take specifically, maybe you have in your head, like, oh, I want to take it like this. I want to take math this semester instead of chem, etc. I think your freshman, sophomore year, you kind of just have to be a little bit flexible, but, like, it's, I would say, rare to no occasions where someone wouldn't graduate on time because they couldn't get into classes they need. Cool. Awesome. Tanya asked, I had a quick question about choosing a college. Where are you at, Tanya?
Hi. Okay. So wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So I'm actually a senior, and I'm deciding between Berkeley right now, and I was kind of in the same spot as you when you were, like, concerned about competitiveness and, like, cutthroatness of the college, and I personally don't think I'm a really competitive person when it comes.
As neither am I.
Yeah. And I'm actually trying to go into business, which is, like, two very ironic things. So yeah, I'm actually just deciding between, like, Berkeley and then some more community driven colleges, like maybe UCSB or UC Irvine, and then Santa Clara, which is a completely different spectrum. So I just wanted to, like, get your take on that. Sorry, it's kind of personal, but
wow, that's crazy. Let's see. I was exactly in your shoes, Tanya. I debated between Cal Poly San Luis Obispo and UC Berkeley. Honestly, y'all, I felt like at Berkeley I would grow more. I felt like at Cal Poly that I would be happier. I have had some challenges at Berkeley, and there are days that I'm like, darn, I wish I would have chose Cal Poly. But at the end of the day, like I'm feel fulfilled by my decision. And let's see. I think I want to know more about your situation, Tanya, more about your desire to go into business, etc. I would be willing to talk to you personally about Berkeley and choosing a college.
Okay.
What do you feel about that?
That sounds better. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But totally would love to support you. It's a hard choice. Berkeley's not as scary as you think it is. It's really not. If you got in, I'm sure you could be successful. But yeah, definitely, I totally understand why it can be a hard decision. All right, Javi asked, if grades are deflated, then does it make it more difficult for a Berkeley student undergrad to apply to grad school with their GPA? Wow, you all really great questions. Honestly, kind of. It's not impossible to get A's and B's here, but it can be harder than at other schools. However, grad schools do consider this. So, if they have someone who is from UC Berkeley and has, let's just say, 3.2 versus someone who came from, I wouldn't not choose Berkeley because you're worried about getting into grad school. I think it can be really most hard for pre-med students, and pre-law maybe a little bit, but pre-med students especially are really worried about their GPA because med school's acceptance rate are about 2 to 5%. And so I think that if you're a pre-med student, it is worth it to consider other universities that don't have grade deflation. Let's see, like my best friend, he is a pre-med student and wants to go to med school and is at Berkeley and doesn't make it work. So it can be done. Does that answer your question, Javi?
Yeah, I also have a follow-up question.
Uh-huh.
Is it common for Berkeley students to go get their grad at Berkeley as well? Or is it more common to choose a different college?
Good question. It's more common to choose a different college. And I would say mainly because people just want to get a different experience. And Berkeley, I would just say the academics can be tough, getting those grades back. You're like, what? I studied so many hours for this. And I would say a lot of people do want to change. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. What is the homework load like at Berkeley across different majors? Asked Amy. Wonderful. It really depends. It mainly depends how many units you're in. At Berkeley, the minimum units requirement is 13 every semester. That's about 3 classes, maybe 4. And more like 3. And let's see, that's quite manageable. You can have extracurriculars, be involved in clubs, maybe even work a job. There are lots of on-campus jobs, maybe even be doing an intramural sport and still sleeping 8 hours. I really, really value sleep, y'all. I sleep 7.5 to 8 hours every single day, even as a college student, but I also don't choose to take 18 units every semester. And some students will do that, especially if they're double or triple majoring. That's again, just a difference in values. I rather spend that time on forming relationships with people and doing things that really make me happy. And school can make me happy, but I really think that you need outlets in college. So totally depends. Some majors are known to be a little bit more difficult than others. Like I would said earlier, computer science, they give you projects that really can just take you hours and hours. But as long as you're kind of lower on the unit number, then you should be able to sleep and have a well-rounded life in college. Does that answer your question, Amy?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. Also, Mahika, do you happen to know how much time we have left, just so I could kind of keep everyone on the same page?
I think we started at I'm going to say 5:30. Yeah, 5:30. So we still have a good 20 minutes.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I remember you saying that we were going to end on the hour at 6, but I'm willing to just go until the Zoom runs out of time to answer as many questions.
Yeah, that works.
All right, so you asked, how are you spending your summers throughout college, internships, etc. So I still do want to be a teacher. I believe high school science, and that's why I'm doing CalTeach, and I'm going to pursue getting a credential. And so I'm not the super typical Berkeley student who's had to fight to get internships. I know people who will apply to 25 internships, and that takes up a lot of their time. And most people land on something in that summer. Unfortunately, sometimes they're not always paid. But for me, I didn't have to deal with all that stress because I know I want to be a teacher, and it's a pretty straightforward path. And so after freshman year, I did Camp Galileo again and just made money and had a really fun summer. And after sophomore year, I took general biology and the lab for it. And then it's coming up is after junior year. And I believe that I'm going to be taking another class. It's pretty common for people to take classes over the summer. Way that you can take less students during the year. Let's see. I'm kind of in an interesting case since I did get a concussion in college, multiple actually. I have had to have pretty light course loads. So that's why I'm going to have 2 summers. And there was also an idea going abroad to Portugal, which a lot of people do in their summers. And I would definitely recommend that. But that wasn't going to work with coronavirus anyways. And so internships is something that once you get into college and you see everyone else doing it, you kind of just catch on to the process of applying to interns. For a little, I was considering, well, could I like do an internship nutrition related? The cards just haven't lined up for that. But I'm sure if I searched hard enough, I could find one. And then also with the strong resources at Berkeley, people like there are definitely ways to be connected to interns. Question answered? Great. All right. Next we have, let's see, Sina. Or is that, I can't tell.
Shania.
How do you say it?
Shania.
Shania. Got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I know someone named Sina. And so I saw the first 4, but then I was like, wait, is that part of
yeah, no one really gets it right the first time.
Thank you for clarifying. Really pretty name. And you asked, is it popular to study abroad? I would say that it is pretty popular. Because students are driven, a lot of them do double majors. They then don't have time to study abroad. But studying abroad in the summer is always an option, and you can study abroad in the school year and actually have it be similar price to what going to UC Berkeley would be, which is super awesome. And you get to have that experience. It kind of depends on your major. Nutrition doesn't have any super strong programs abroad, but there are a lot of programs that you can go on that just fulfill like general requirements. All right, meeting will end in 10 minutes. Okay. Have you participated in any research or do you plan on it? How does it work? I did a little bit of research through one of my classes, one of my teaching classes, and this research was atypical for Berkeley research. It was essentially looking through data. I had a data set of like 20,000 middle school students, and I did like a research paper on the disparities or the gaps between students' test scores and GPA according to their parents' education level. And so I learned how to use data, which is sort of similar to R. And I really enjoyed that. So you could kind of do little research projects like that through class. What you're referring to, Mahika, though, is probably like bigger research. That's really gonna like have the possibility of changing the world type research. And let's see, how many of you are familiar with CRISPR? Anyone? Jennifer Doudna? It's like gene editing. Well, there's a lot of science research that goes on here at Berkeley. And I do have a really close friend that works in a research lab. And let's see, he goes 10 hours a week. And it was pretty competitive to get the research, but he kind of had a connection. And so, yeah, it goes to lab and actually spent the whole summer doing it. Let's see, it's Jennifer Doudna's husband, named, let's see, it's called the Kate Lab. If you want to look it up, Mahika, it's called the Kate Lab, UC Berkeley. And they work with protein cells and essentially are trying to figure out how to cut the protein cells and insert like new. So they're figuring out DNA in a nucleus and use protein to change DNA, essentially to one day like cure diseases. It's pretty crazy stuff. Yeah, so that's the Kate Lab if you want to look into it. And there's a lot of opportunity for research at Berkeley, especially in science, if that's something you'd be interested in. Can you talk about the business major at Berkeley? Javi asked. To be honest, I don't know that much about high school business. I know that it's competitive to get into. And I just, really, I'm not exactly sure what a business class is like, but I think you'll have classes on, like, for instance, marketing and accounting and management. I think something that's really great about high school business is that the classes aren't massive, so you get to know the professors a little. And I think that being in the major high school business is a lot about like connection, just like knowing people in the high school business. And I think that really helps them in the business world. Yeah. I would suggest looking at high school business, and you all could always look at like 4-year plan. High school business 4-year plan, high school business major requirements, and it'll tell you what kind of classes you would take. Let's see. I don't know. She had it out already. Yeah, she did.
Yeah, so we only have like 5 minutes, guys. So if you have any more questions, just do them now before it's too late. I actually have one real quick. How is like the extracurricular scene in like around Berkeley, not just at Berkeley itself? Like, are there a lot of opportunities?
In terms of like outreach to the community, or is that kind of what you're referring to, Mahika?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like for instance, there's a club called the Suitcase Clinic that works with or provides to people with homelessness in Berkeley, provides them with like food and washing stations. And I think it's like a relatively competitive club, but a lot of pre-med students join. And so I would say that, you know, Berkeley's not that massive of a town. So UC Berkeley and the students at Berkeley make up a lot of the community and definitely are a part of Berkeley community. And we support the local businesses, etc. And definitely like a lot of students work, not just on campus, but in the city of Berkeley. And there's a Berkeley medical clinic also for a lot of people with homelessness go to that clinic to get medical care, and Berkeley students can volunteer there, etc. So it's pretty good. Yeah, totally. I'm glad you asked, Sam. Could you please talk about the community college route? The community college route is such a good one, and I really think that not enough people consider it. My sister and I are both going to graduate with a Berkeley degree, and she saved a lot of money, and that's really cool. I personally just was like, privileged enough with my parents' support to be able to go straight to a 4-year. And because I had that opportunity, I wanted to. I was just kind of ready for a new opportunity. But definitely, for those who just don't know like where exactly they want to go, or aren't happy with all their options, the community college route is such a good way to have like another opportunity to keep thinking about discerning what school you want to go to. And so there's not really much of an application process of going to community college, which is awesome. So you go to community college, you finish a lot of those general education classes, which just a lot of times aren't quite as interesting, and you apply to transfer. And what's awesome is that from there, they don't even look at your SAT or ACT scores. To be honest, I didn't score that well on the ACT comparatively to other Berkeley students, and I was pretty worried in applying to colleges. It worked out, they look at other things, but you don't have to take those test scores if you're at a community college. And you just apply essentially with your GPA and about you with essays. And I feel like there are less students applying via transfer from community college versus high school. So it can just be a really good opportunity to get into schools that you think you maybe couldn't have gotten into in high school. For me, it was like being worried about my test score. So yeah. And let's see. Does that answer all your questions, Sam? Do you have any more that are more specific? Sam? Maybe they're typing.
No, that's okay. Thank you. You answered.
Okay, great. All right, less than a minute. Let's see, Mahika, anything you want to say? I can put my email, and if anyone has really dying questions that they didn't get to, you could go ahead and email me, and I'd be more than happy to respond. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining your all wonderful group. Mahika?
Thank you, Darcie. I know like a lot of us learned a lot, and I really appreciate you being here. And thanks again. Yeah,
of course.
Wish you the best of luck and with however it's going. So yeah.
Thanks, and I wish you all the best of luck. You're all going to be great. I'm sure a lot of you are all of you are hard workers and have unique talents, and like I promise you, it will work out. And I promise you, if you want to go to Berkeley and you get in, like it's not as scary. Like you could do it. There's lots of support, and so yeah. Oh, you're welcome, everyone. And yeah, go Bears, Vivek.
Okay, bye, Darcie.
All right, take care, everyone. Bye. Bye.